It's Betting the W, episode 9. We're back again after another busy week.
And notably, production value went up.
Look at that. New studio, turned about 90 degrees. Much better wall over here. And look at the decorations.
I know you guys will miss our kitchen.
Yes. We'll try to give updates on the ongoings over there. But right now, it's time to talk ball. Specifically about the WNBA and free agency. We did too much too fast. I think a lot of things happened before the opening of free agency.
Yeah.
And since free agency started, it has been an absolute snooze fest.
Yeah. I mean, we were so excited. Kate put it, I was bewildered when we were talking about the moves being made before free agency even started. And free agency starts, and no one wants to sign.
We were spoiled by that first week of pre-free agency, and now everybody being real slow with their movements.
Yeah.
Breanna Stewart still teasing us, has given no real indication outside of her 4 final teams. We don't know which way she's leaning. We have hunches.
Yeah, you can look at her tweets, but if she does all this, leads us on for weeks, and then goes and signs with the Liberty like everyone's been saying for years, that's so lame.
So lame. If she's doing if she's taking all this time, she better not be signing with the Liberty or the Storm.
Yeah.
I think she needs to throw a wild card in there.
Yeah.
Because
I'll throw
we've been
out
waiting.
there. Manny Machado signed deep into spring training. If we want to keep that parallel going, Indiana, I think you gotta. Is there? What would their emoji be?
The little
like a thermometer.
Thermometer, yeah.
We need to see a thermometer pop up in those tweets.
Genius. Let's see the thermometer, Stewie. Other than that, we had Dearica Hamby. She was moved. A lot of things coming out about the Aces organization.
Yeah.
Not a great look, guys. Dearica Hamby is one of the most important players in their franchise history.
Yeah.
And sounds like the treatment that she received was not up to that standard.
Not good.
Of any player.
Yeah. From a basketball perspective, I almost like the move, but from a non-basketball perspective, Aces, what are we doing? Especially because, 5 days before the trade, she tweeted that out about telling people she was pregnant.
Right. It's not a good look for a league who a lot of their players could be pregnant at any time. There needs to be more protections for players who become pregnant. And we've seen it handled well with Candace Parker, with Maya Moore, but this is a rough look for the reigning champs.
Yeah.
But from a basketball perspective, the Sparks are building up. They're making some moves. New coach Kurt Miller from Connecticut. People aren't high on them going into the season, but they're adding some names, and they still have a chance to sign Nneka Nwumike. And also, Chiney Nwumike, her sister, is also a free agent.
Yeah,
She's
technically.
Right, she's moved on to her second career, but she's still a WNBA player.
Go call her up.
Why not go ball out with your sister? That'd be a pretty sweet move. That's what I would do.
Why not? And then if you want to, after the trade, the Aces, you heard Candace Parker rumors.
Yep.
But, if you're thinking about signing with the Aces, you got to know it's going to be a tough look now.
Yeah.
After what they did.
Definitely. I think this hurts their chances at a lot of adding a free agent. So I think they're probably going to be working with what they've got now once the season rolls around.
It's pretty good.
It's not bad.
It's
not
decent,
bad. But like we said, like we've been saying, the Liberty are loading up, coming for the watch the throne. Very interesting to see. We're going to keep an eye on WNBA free agency all the way through to the season. But right now, on the court, college basketball is buzzing. We had some interesting games this week. We had some real boring games, some expected results, but then we had some really exciting games as well.
Yeah.
And we have to start Monday night, the Big Ten, number 10 Iowa, walks into Columbus and upsets previously unbeaten number 2 Ohio State. This was huge.
Yeah.
I
If any team beats Ohio State, for you at least, you want it to be Iowa.
absolutely. I not happy. We can talk about last night. Not happy that Ohio State is really sliding, but I'm really happy that Iowa looked great this week.
Yeah.
They absolutely proved that they can still hang. They've had some weird losses, but they're still a really elite team. And Caitlin Clark is heating up. I think we expect so much out of her. She started the season off cold by her standards, hot by anybody else's standards.
Yeah.
But she's heated up to her own standards now, and she is as deep into the Player of the Year race as anybody else in the country.
Yeah, and she had another ridiculous line against Ohio State. 28, 15, and 10.
Who's doing that? Only Caitlin Clark is going out and getting a triple-double, and it's not even a surprise.
No, and I didn't use no rumblings about it.
No, because it's standard. That's what we expect from one of the best players in the country. It's Caitlin Clark playing huge. Ohio State, like I mentioned, a rough look this week, a really bad week. I think they're still good. I hope they're still good because I had championship hopes for them. But we saw a little bit of the weakness of the Buckeyes this week. And it continues a trend that we are now seeing 2 weeks in a row of the number 2 team in the ranking stumbling. Last week we had number 2 Stanford losing to USC early in the week. Now Ohio State moves up immediately. 2 bad losses.
I mean, you fear for whoever's about to be number 2.
Well, who do we think that's going to be?
Do you want to know my opinion? I like LSU here at number 2. I think they're the second best team. I think
Easily.
they deserve number 2. Do I think they're going to get it? Not a shot.
No.
And I'm going to have a mental breakdown when come next poll, we see South Carolina, Stanford. Stanford does not deserve number 2 right now as it stands.
It's just, you can't explain it. What is the AP poll's explanation for constantly putting Stanford at 2? And we're getting pretty mad about this because the poll isn't even out yet.
Yeah.
But it's so clear to me that that LSU is the second best team in the country. I don't think there's even an argument. But the AP poll, right now have LSU at 3, Stanford at 3 over LSU at 4.
Which is ridiculous because last week they had LSU at 3, Stanford at 4. Both teams won out. LSU had that crazy game against Arkansas where they proved they could win a big game. Stanford, you expect them to win every game they go out to. And then Stanford moves up passing LSU. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
AP poll loves Stanford. They're a top 4 team, but they're not 2. And I think it's likely that they end up there. But anyone who's watching college basketball this season knows that the top 2 teams in the country are South Carolina and LSU.
And then it'll be real interesting to see what happens to Ohio State here.
Yeah, a loss to Iowa is bad, but it's a quality loss because Iowa is clearly a top 10 team. A loss to Iowa and then a loss to Indiana, who is also a top 10 team.
Yeah.
But to lose those 2 right in a row, I don't want to say they drop out of the top 10, but to lose back-to-back games to top 10 teams, I don't think you can put them ahead of either team they lost to.
No, they're definitely out of the top 5 for me. Maybe that 7-8 range.
Yeah.
If we're looking at top 5, I like South Carolina, obviously.
Yep.
This is my rankings, Damon's rankings. South Carolina, LSU. I think I like Connecticut there at 3. Stanford at 4. And then I might go Indiana at 5.
Yeah. You have to put Indiana over Ohio State.
Yeah. And then it gets interesting with this next group, the Notre Dame, Ohio State, Iowa. Iowa's going to jump.
Yeah, Iowa's going to have a big jump. I think Iowa could... Does Iowa pass Notre Dame even, or are they?
Yeah.
I think Iowa jumps Utah and UCLA. We'll talk about the Pac-12.
Like
So they're at the lowest going to be at 8. I think they're probably better than Notre Dame, but that's Notre Dame has put together a great resume too. So it'll be interesting to see. Like we said, if we're making the poll, That's what we say, but we don't make the poll. The AP voters make the poll. Do the right thing, AP voters.
Please.
You know Stanford is in the top 2 team. You know this.
I might not show up on next Friday if Stanford's number 2, guys. You'll be digging me out of a pit.
Certified AP poll haters. Right there. Anything else on the big game of the week in Columbus?
I like, obviously, Caitlin Clark's team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really liking their front court play of recent. Yeah. Monica Sinano. I'm sorry. And Hannah Stolke, both playing really good recently,
yes.
Especially in that last game. Stolke stepped it up big time.
Caitlin Clark with help is scary.
Yeah.
Because once you see her pass the ball, you realize that she's just as good passing as she is shooting, which is crazy.
Yeah.
She can dish the ball out like no other in the country.
Yeah.
So
especially Caitlin Clark with front court help.
Exactly.
Come on.
It's going to be real tough to stop that. So we talked about Indiana. They're at number 6. Could move up into the top 5. All season long, they've been floating in the top 10 in a few different spots. We keep questioning whether they're legit, but they keep proving it. This week, they beat number 13 Michigan in Ann Arbor. And then they beat Ohio State last night.
2
in
big
Bloomington.
wins.
Those are huge, dude. Michigan is a good team. Ohio State was a top 2 team. That's an incredible week for Indiana.
I think Indiana, same thing, the Utah situation we had
earlier.
Yeah. I think Indiana, Utah, just forget about them, man.
We do. We talk about everybody else that's around them and forget to bring them up. Indiana, man, they've been hanging around. There are a few things that you can say against them at this point in the season.
They have 4 top 10 wins. I mean, you can't discredit them for anything, really.
No, there's nothing more that they can be doing at this point. I think that Big Ten race is going to be crazy at the end of the year. Because I think Indiana could win out. I think Iowa could easily win the tournament. I think Ohio State could look like Ohio State again. I mean, even Maryland.
Yeah.
Who knows?
This is a deep conference. We talk about other conferences being deep. This one's
the
deep.
deepest conference. Maryland's also at number 10. They had a tie at 10. Maryland, they beat Nebraska and Illinois. They survived a close scare at Northwestern, which is kind of a weird one. But and they beat Michigan last night.
Yeah.
Rip to our parlay. Over 2. I blame Vegas. If we had some lines in front of it, we were forced to pick.
If we had some things to pick from.
UConn Tennessee overhit. That's what I'll say. that would have been my pick. But anyway, Maryland stayed hot. Big win last night. Maryland's another kind of sneaky good team. Like, this conference is filled with sneaky good teams who aren't the best team in the conference that we know of, but
it could
be one of the best teams in the country.
Like, and in Maryland's case, they have a bona fide lottery pick. It's hard to not be competitive if you have a lottery pick.
Don Miller's playing out of her mind all season long. Let's get into the Pac-12. We talked a little bit about Stanford. Could be your number 2 team in the country next week. Hasn't really proved it, but they've got the name, they've got the coach, they've got Cam Brink and Haley Jones. It's Tara. We do love Tara. I do think that USC loss lit the fire under Stanford that they need. Yeah. I think now that was a reality check. I don't think they're going to lose again. There's really no question. Like, they know now that they can't score 46 and win. So they're going to score a lot.
I sure hope every team knows
that. I think that is a lesson that needs to be learned. Unless you're Duke, probably you could win with 46 points. I think Stanford wins out. I don't think that's a complicated pick.
They got a couple fun games in the back end of their schedule, though. They ended UCLA, Colorado, and Utah within 5 days. So
that'll be an interesting run for them. Need to prove something.
Yeah.
But I think they are good enough to win out.
They win out there. They're going into the tournament hot. It's like...
And we talked about quiet top 10 teams that we kind of forget about a little bit. We have given UCLA their roses. Yeah. You picked them in your preseason championship draft. But I think they just have to be the quietest top 10 team in the country because nothing they've done has amazed me.
Yeah.
But they're winning. Like, they have won all but 2 of their games, I believe. So three of their games. Like, I don't really know what to say here. They're a really good team. Are they a great team? I don't know. I think there's still something to be proven there.
The thing with UCLA is I'm a big fan of their team. Obviously, picked them in my draft. Every time I get the ESPN notification at halftime, it's way too close for my liking.
Yeah.
But because they're up in that top 10 range and they win, you can't drop them.
Exactly. They're doing what they need to do to stay in the top 10. There's no knocks against them, but I don't think they hang with the other top 10 teams in the country. The South Carolinas, the LSUs, even the Stanfords.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it really will depend on what version of Charisma Osborne comes to play.
Exactly.
Before that foot injury, she was hooping.
Yes.
And she's looking better of late, but those first few games after that injury was not very pretty.
It's tough going. You're not exactly sure which UCLA team you're going to get night in and night out. Other teams in the Pac-12, it's kind of an unassuming league. Arizona and Colorado are both ranked, but they're very up and down.
They're cool.
Yeah, they're fine. They can hang. They're right on the edge of the rankings. Colorado's shown that they can surprise some teams.
Yeah.
Utah has shown that they are like better than we expect them to be, but either way, Arizona and Colorado,
they're cool.
Yeah, they're there. They're in the rankings.
Yeah.
There's not a ton to say about them.
They're both 15-4. They're very similar teams, I think. The only thing I think Colorado has over Arizona is they beat that Utah team.
Yes.
And that's a big win.
That is a big win.
Plus, I'm a huge fan of Quay Miller and Jalen Sherrod. So
yeah, that's a fun duo.
Yeah.
So Arizona and Colorado, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see come March.
I'd say the whole Pac-12.
Yeah, the whole Pac-12. Not exactly sure who's still going to be there come March. In the Big 12, we had some history made in a bad way. No Texas teams in the AP poll for the first time ever. In the history of the women's AP poll, there's never been a ranking without a team from Texas.
There's so many Texas teams.
I know. There are so many. And Baylor, historically dominant. Texas is always in there. This week, nobody. Nobody made the cut. So we might see one back in, though, because Texas had a great week. They had a weird loss to Texas Tech last week, which knocked them out of the ranking. But since then, a 13-point win over Baylor and a 20-point win over number 14 Oklahoma, which isn't an upset. They were favored pretty heavily over a ranked opponent because Oklahoma is just number 4. I don't know how they got up to number 14 because they're not a top 15 team in the country.
No, not at all. And Texas, they got the second most votes out of the top 25, so that would make them 27.
Yes, top 27 team.
They'll probably sneak in there a couple more times.
And then we've got the ranked team from that conference is number 18, Iowa State. They've been cruising quietly since losing to Texas. They got wins over Oklahoma State and Kansas. They beat TCU by 40. Just really, TCU is having a rough season so far. But, Iowa State, they have good wins. They have bad losses.
Yeah, it's tough because their best player is out.
Yeah,
so
that makes a big difference.
It's definitely hard to win without your best player.
It is very hard to win. So Iowa State, another team, we're going to see what they are come March. They've got the talent. Are they going to be healthy is the question with them. Then we get to the SEC. I don't really have anything to say about the SEC until February 12th in Columbia because they have the 2 best teams in the country and nobody else. Nobody else is ranked. They have 2 teams in the top 4, what we believe should be the 2 teams in the top 2, and then nobody else ranked. So what you can say for these teams is that they're super talented. What you can't say for these teams is that they're playing good conference schedules because we've seen some exciting games, but no huge challenges until they face each other in Columbia. That's going to be crazy.
Huge.
Crazy.
Battle for the undefeated teams. You know my pick already from 2 weeks ago. Thinking LSU's going all the way. Undefeated, that is. I'm
They've
not
got
about
what
the
it
tournament. That'll just be a huge game.
It'll be crazy. I can't wait to watch it.
And then one thing I've been noticing, national media is loving Aaliyah Boston, and she's front runner for National Player of the Year. I don't know how I feel about that, Max. I'm gonna throw some stat lines at you. See who you like for National
Blind
Player of the
resume
Year.
time.
Cover the eyes. All right. 12.5 points, 9.5 rebounds, about 1.5 assists on 59, 9, and 78 splits. 9%. 9% from 3.
Okay.
About 27, 7.5, and 8 on 45, 36, 83 splits.
Okay.
And then 23.7, 15.5, and 2.5 assists on 56, 25, and 68 splits. Which of those players do you like the most for Player of the Year?
So I'll tell you which player I like the least. Is player A.
Player A.
It's an kind of uninspiring line. I like player B. The second player that you listed, that is complete play across the board, at least from an offensive standpoint.
So you want me to
reveal the names.
Player A, Aaliyah Boston. Totally unassuming line. Player B, Caitlin Clark, your favorite. So good pick.
Go Hawkeyes.
Player C, Angel Reese.
That makes sense.
15 boards. I mean, it was pretty. I think it was
Yeah,
pretty obvious.
That stands out.
I think you could tell who was who.
Yes.
But
it's pretty easy to tell based on their different play styles who was who. But even from a blind standpoint, I think Caitlin Clark does everything.
Yeah.
Angel Reese does her thing better than anyone else in the country. Aaliyah Boston does her thing well, and this is the defense that the media has. Even I
think it's valid, but
my boy Scott Van Pelt is my favorite reporter. He was on SportsCenter the other night. He said Aaliyah Boston only has about 14 and 12 per game and a double-double because they don't need her to play late in the game, which I get. But still, even you're not making that much of the minutes that you're in if you're only putting up 14 and 12. And I say, none of us could go out and get 14 and 12. But Angel Reese is getting 23, almost 24, and 15 and a half per night.
Yeah.
And they're dominating. They're dominating. And she is surrounded by just as much talent as Aaliyah Boston is. These are both stacked rosters.
Exactly.
They're both playing teams that are below their level.
Exactly. I think Angel Reese, the argument against her is the strength of schedule and the strength of competitors.
Yep.
But then the argument for Aaliyah Boston is their strength of schedule being easy, that she doesn't get to stay in the game.
Right. They don't play anybody.
You can't have it both ways, guys.
Right. The media can't do this both ways. And Angel Reese actually has more assists, which is surprising. So she's even doing that better than Aaliyah Boston is.
And this isn't anything to discredit Aaliyah Boston. She's the clear number one pick.
I think that's the reason, because Angel Reese does have more to prove.
Yeah.
And I think she has made herself into the bona fide best player in the country. And we know that Aaliyah Boston could be the best player in the country, but chooses not to, doesn't need to, whatever you want to say. But that should be reflected in the awards. It shouldn't be, we know she could be the best player, so we're going to give her the Player of the Year award. It's who was the best player. And right now, if you want a guard, it's Caitlin Clark. If you want a big, it's Angel Reese. And I don't think there's any question about that.
Totally agree, Max.
So that's our SEC talk. Who's going to be, which of those two could be a national champion, and which of those two teams could be a national championship team, and which of those two players could be the Player of the Year. And then everybody else is doing their own thing. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely doing something.
The ACC, Duke unders have not lost yet. If you bet Duke under last night, you got to push, which is not a loss. You could do a lot worse than that. They scored exactly 121. Vegas nailed that line. But Vegas is still giving Duke too much credit, or Duke opponents too much credit. I mean, let's see, how many points are they allowing? 55 against number 12 Virginia Tech. I think they're a little overrated, but that's a top 15 team. You're only allowing 55 points to. 50 to Syracuse. A loss to UNC. That was ugly. But 47 to Georgia Tech.
Even
56
in the loss.
to Clemson.
Even in the loss.
Yes,
they hit the
61.
under.
Yes, they hit the under in that game. Keep betting the Duke unders. Keep hammering them. A push is kind of a weird result just for them to score exactly 121. That's kind of dumb luck on Vegas's part. But these are not going to be high-scoring games. It's going to be great defense. You can feel safe betting on a Duke under.
Yeah.
And if it goes over, you can say, well,
it won't next time.
I took that risk, and it's going to go right back. Because it is like the best trend in sports right now.
Yeah, their opponents are averaging the second least in college basketball.
It's crazy, the defense that they're playing right now.
51.2
51.2 points
51.2.
in collegiate basketball.
Oh my god.
It's unreal. This week, I'm excited. This is kind of like a personal challenge under. Florida State at home, that's a good offensive team, but you know I'm still rolling with the under. You gotta go for the under. I think this might be their toughest under. Notre Dame's gonna be a tough under. UNC again might be a tough under, but keep rolling with the unders. Duke has a tough schedule moving forward, but they're a tough defensive team. So Duke and the under is always a great bet.
Lock it in.
Other ACC talk. Notre Dame continuing to dominate. Number 7 team in the country. Could move up. They dominated Virginia and a barely ranked FSU. Notre Dame, like, another kind of quiet top 10 team.
Yeah, they're in that same range as UCLA for sure.
Yeah, definitely sneaky good. What was their loss? UNC. So they lost to UNC a couple weeks ago. But
yeah, even their losses, I mean, we talk a lot about good losses. I don't know if there is like a good loss because you definitely want to win every game you play. But losses to Maryland and UNC, it doesn't get better than that, right?
Right. That's 2 really good losses for an ACC team and beat UConn. So they have one of the best wins in the country too.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame, like,
Pretty good resume.
still probably the favorite in the ACC.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what the Duke defense can do to them. I still kind of think Notre Dame probably takes that matchup, but the ACC tournament will be an exciting one too. It will be similar to the Big Ten, where any lower ranked team could make noise, but you kind of expect those teams at the top to bring home.
I agree. I think it's a little different from the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten, they're all good.
Right.
I think the ACC,
It's competitive.
the top's pretty good. The middle is pretty mid.
Yeah, it
Call it
is-
the middle for a
It is
reason.
as it's named. Otherwise, on the East Coast, we do have the Big East.
UConn.
This is similar to SEC, where they have a championship contender and not much else. They do have Nova this weekend, which will be big, because Nova is a good team, but UConn's a great team.
Yep. We talked about it last week. UConn. Very good.
They're good at basketball. It's standard. If they can control Maddie Segrist, friend of the pod, if they can keep her under control, which
It's a hard thing to do, man.
it's really hard to keep her off the boards, but it's UConn. I
Yeah.
kind of think that they're going to be able to outscore anybody.
I mean, it doesn't matter how many players they have. They could roll out 4, and I think they'll win.
Also, we probably should have touched on this during SEC talk, but last night, UConn played a game against Tennessee. And at the beginning of this year, I made a resolution that I was not going to believe in Tennessee anymore. And it is January 27th. And I was all over Tennessee +9 last night. They were at home. It was we back Pat night. It was UConn. It's a rivalry game. You couldn't keep it close for Pat, guys. Come on. They got blown out by UConn last night. Tennessee still undefeated in SEC play, I think, last time I checked. But UConn's too good. Can't bet against UConn. Can't bet on Tennessee.
Not even a little. You made it longer than most people do in their resolutions. I'll leave it at that. But
at least I'm still going to the gym.
Yeah, Tennessee's still undefeated.
I'm on the SEC. The SEC
is that much of a
sucks.
statement?
I will say we're supposed to be on UConn. I'm going back to the SEC. Actually, you know what? I'll talk about it in the walk-off. Let's stay on UConn.
Alrighty.
Nika Mule or Mule?
Mule, I think.
Mule. Nika Mule.
I suck at these names, dude. Hooper, though.
There's some tough names out there. Baller. She's a baller. Point guard for UConn right now.
On pace to shatter. Super's assist record. UConn assist record from this year.
New poster. Check it out.
I don't know if you guys saw.
Absolutely perfect. We agree.
Alright.
Shatter.
Blow it out the water.
And then, those are our major conferences. Little mid-major shout out. Middle Tennessee, up to number 23. And shout out Jack DePaulo Boisvert, our good friend of the pod. Real life friend. You had it first, buddy. He knew about Middle Tennessee. I talked to him. He said he went down there last year, liked what he saw.
Yeah.
He's doing some real life scouting.
He's been in that BTW comment section on Middle Tennessee.
Longest winning streak in the country outside of the undefeateds. 14 games in a row. And who's going to pick a CUSA game for them to lose? I don't think they lose in conference play. Not even a Cinderella once they get to the tournament. I think they could just be a highly ranked team. So,
hey, they keep winning. Can't drop them.
Exactly. And then our other ranked mid-major team, Gonzaga. I hated on them last week. They won this week a couple times. Really underwhelming. Not winning by all that much. I don't know. Gonzaga, keep proving me wrong, but when the tournament gets here, I don't think they're going to be ready for whoever they are slated to face.
Yeah, I really wanted them to lose to LMU just because the men did.
That would be hilarious.
They got Gonzaga's number. But you love these mid-major teams in the tournament. I mean, you want to see the Cinderella.
Exactly, but I think Gonzaga is going to be one of those overrated mid-major teams.
Yeah.
Where everyone's picking them to be a Cinderella while they're a ranked team.
Exactly.
And then they're going to underperform expectations. But, they've got Pepperdine and Santa Clara and these San Francisco. You're probably not going to lose. But just be ready. Just know that the tournament is a different animal.
Yeah, that's the problem with these teams. When they play good teams, you got to see what happens.
We will see what happens in March. So, we've reached the end of our show. It's time to bring in Kate for our walk-off segment.
Give you a
Grab the third chair.
You get it?
Man,
you didn't want to bring the chair?
He said he'll grab. He got up. Gentlemen. It's tight over here.
You fill in the blank space very nicely, Kate.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Yes, thank you. So, last week,
got a little drama here.
Damon caught a dub. All of a sudden, I've been kind of floating at the top there. I dropped down to 5-3. Damon's up to 5-3. We got a tie at the top.
Big week.
Big week. This will determine the standings. We could have a change of place in the standings. 5-3 versus 5-3 at the top of the standings. Kate is also here. Welcome, Kate.
Thanks.
I always have Kate start. Let's have Damon start. Damon, what's your pick this week, my friend?
I've been on the Buffs all year. They're playing tonight against UCLA. Also, big fan of that team. two teams, they'll just pick you apart. They're pretty methodical. They don't play fast or anything. They just go out and hoop. It's in Colorado, in Boulder. I like Colorado over UCLA.
You know what? This is a lot of growth for you because not only are you not picking one of my teams to lose, you're picking one of your own teams to lose. Sometimes you got to fade yourself.
I'm a changed man.
I'm really proud of the progress that you're making. This game also jumped out to me. I second your pick.
Yeah. Max, what do you feel?
I am doing not so hot lately on picking winners.
Same.
But
Lately?
it's not a lately thing. I can sniff out a good over, though, and there's nothing I love more than an over in a nice rivalry game. Tennessee is heading to LSU. It's a night game. Pete Maravich Center is going to be packed again. This is their first home game since that big win over Arkansas. It's a whiteout.
Oh.
Yeah. Tennessee can score. I do not think they'll win. Mark that down. I am not betting on Tennessee. I'm betting on the over. I'm looking at them to lose while LSU scores a lot of points. Angel Reese hasn't played in a week. She and the rest of the Tigers are going to go crazy. Monday night, Tennessee, LSU, over.
First non-winner.
Whatever, yeah. Well, we try to pick winners because the lines aren't out yet. But whatever it is.
He doesn't even care.
130, 132, over.
I like
Lock
that.
it in. Lock it in. Hammer it.
All right, Kate.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Next Thursday. So he picked tonight. I picked all the way a week from now.
Oh, it's always the worst way in.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be so fresh in our memory when we throw it.
Yeah, exactly. Maryland, Iowa. I'm going Iowa.
Is that allowed? Can we flag on the play?
Next.
Alright, I will vote. I will side with Kate on this one because I want to see you get a win.
Me too.
It makes me sad. 2-6. Although now you're cursing Iowa.
Oh. Yeah, Kate notably wore the Ohio State sweatshirt last week. Since then, Ohio State has not won a game. So we've banned her from wearing any school clothes.
He was smart to side with me because I have an LSU sweatshirt.
I know, I said
That's
I better never see that again.
Never bring that out. Do not bring that out. Fine. Okay. Roll with it.
Thank you.
Iowa over the Terps. I'm right there with you. I believe in Kate. No such thing as a Kate curse.
I believe in Iowa.
Yes. I believe
Also,
in Kate,
Kate
Clark.
Clark.
Yeah. Caitlin's got to stick together. I'm just... Okay.
Where are they?
There.
They're in Iowa. That line's gonna
Iowa's
be...
going to be fair by like 12 points.
It's gonna be a long line, guys.
Alright. While I stew on this and my stance on curses, you all go have a fantastic weekend. We got some big games coming up this week. Look for the points. Tennessee, LSU, lock it in. Look for some great games this week as we get ready for March. And a little tease of a very special guest next week.
Oh,
So
yeah.
tune in next week for a very special guest. Can't wait to see you next week. Have a great weekend. See ya.